Texas is number 2. Just throwing that out there.
Okay.
And
Same for
all the disasters are going through. Yeah.
so, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Paul.
Joe was just saying that you might mention Central Texas PERS.
Ready?
Go.
We're ready, but
All right, I have 3:34, and this time we will call the meeting of the Canyon City Commission to order. With that, Commissioner Potter, would you say first?
Dear Heavenly Father, we're so grateful to be here and to represent the city of King. Just help us make sound decisions that are fair and equitable to everyone. And Lord, we do say a special prayer for all of our fellow Texans down in Central Texas. And Lord, we just lift up parents and officials and all of the workers out trying to find people. And Lord, we want answers, but we know that you're in control. And Lord, we also just lift up the folks in Red Osa, and we know that they've had something very similar happen. And Lord, we just ask that you be with them too. And we ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we're starting with the budget work session. Joe, are you leading us out?
I'll go ahead and
Looks like we got a good crew here.
turn it over to our finance department.
Great, and we'll dive right in. Looking at the preliminary 25-26 budget, put together with the help of a lot of the people that are here behind me, which I'm very thankful for all their help. As you can see here with this report, this is kind of an overview of the 3 operating funds and their total. We have an increase of 3%. Looking at transfers from the utility fund, it's actually decreasing by 5%, increasing for the general fund, but decreasing for the golf fund. And we'll go over some of the major factors there for the golf fund. First one being here, the capital outlay decreasing. This is their payment to the capital equipment fund. We are extending the life of our golf carts since we purchased the lithium batteries, this most recent purchase. So we're not making the purchase until after 5 years, when we usually do 4 years. And so we reduced their annual payment by half this year, half last year for that final payment. And that's a big reduction there. Also, in the golf fund, you'll see a reduction in the debt service. We paid off some debt this current year, so the debt service for the golf fund also decreased. This does not include the irrigation debt, which is in a CIP fund. Other big changes here in the total, there's a decrease of 55% in transfers to the CIP fund. We've just issued over $24 million in debt for projects, so we are not transferring to the CIP fund for additional projects. Those projects have us pretty busy right now. Transfers to other funds, general fund, this $34,000 increasing to $60,000. That's transfers to our tiers fund. So we collect that property tax revenue in the general fund, then we transfer it to our tiers fund, and that's the city's portion there as that transfer. So overall, the one big change here is you see the decrease also for transfer to other funds, the utility fund, that's the transfers to the general fund and the golf fund. So overall, we're going to have 3% increase in revenue, 3% increase in expenses. Summary of major changes to property taxes, values, appraised values increased by less than 1%. Average home, less than 1%. Taxable value, total taxable value increased by 3%. For average home, that increased by 4%. But the amount that we use in our budget calculations for taxable value, we're using a 2% increase. And we'll look at how we calculate that here in a little bit. For tax rate, our current tax rate for our current year, the 24 tax year, is 0.41011. We're looking at an increased 0.517, that's a 26% increase, a 5% increase for operations, and a 261% increase for debt service, which is the public safety facilities debt. I will say all these numbers for 25 tax year, they're still using estimated values. The deadline for us to receive the certified values is a week from Friday. We might receive it sooner than that, but right now these are all estimates. Also, the tax rate for debt service, we have not issued that debt yet, so it's still subject to change as well. Then for revenue, we're looking at a $1.4 million increase in property tax revenue, about $300,000 for operations, and over $1 million for the debt service. That $300,000 for operations was kind of the limit we set for ourselves. Last year, that increase was $296,000. We did not want to exceed $300,000 in this year's budget. So that's where we came with that 7% increase in operations property tax revenue. Further details, you can see here how we came up with that taxable property value that we use in our budgeting by taking the increase in taxable value from this year, next year, reverse calculating the taxable value for this current year based on our actual collections, and taking that percentage of increase and applying it to that new taxable value. And that's how we came with this budget value in our calculations. More details on the tax rate. Again, here is our current year tax rate, operations and debt service. For the 2025 tax rates, first I want to point out that all of the debt service tax rates are the same, 0.2203. That's based off of property value and our required debt service, so that's going to be the same no matter what scenario we go into. Again, that one is that's subject to change based off of when we actually issue the debt. So the first one we have is the no new revenue tax rate. This one hits hard because we're saying all the new requirements for the debt service for the new debt, we're going to take all that out of operations. So you see increase in operating revenue is actually a decrease over 1.1 million. The voter approval tax rate, which is meant to be a 3.5% increase from the no new revenue, that is a 21.4% increase in tax rate. Operating revenue, that would give us 68,365 increase. Now, because we have a population of less than 30,000, we can calculate these other two tax rates. First one's what I call the Section 75065 rate. There's no name for this in the tax code. This is just where you can find this rate in the tax code. This is the highest rate that we could adopt that could not be petitioned for election. That would be a 26.6% increase in the tax rate and would provide us with an increase in operating revenue of over $325,000. Then the de minimis rate, which is meant to give us $500,000 increase in operating property tax revenue from the prior year, would be a 30.6% tax increase. This is the highest rate we could adopt. Anything higher than that would automatically require an election. That rate would give us almost $525,000 in increased revenue. And then these other two rates I calculated, first one, let's just take the same operating tax rate from this current year and we kept it the same next year. So we have 0.37635, if we kept that the same and only increased the debt service rate to meet the new debt requirements, that would be a 21.5% increase in the tax rate. We would still receive almost $74,000 increase in revenue with the increase in taxable property value. But the proposed rate that we have included in the preliminary budget, this is where we have the almost $300,000 in increase in operating revenue, the total rate of 0.517, which is the 26.1% increase. And then below there's calculations of how we calculated the different revenue amounts all of the revenue do include a 98.5% conservative adjustment, just in case we don't collect 100%. We want to make sure that we are conservative in our revenue amounts. Looking at the history of those tax rates, here in the orange is that de minimis rate. The red is our voter approval rate before the sales tax adjustment. Once it's adjusted for sales tax, it drops from that red to the solid blue line. So that is our adjusted voter approval tax rate. And then here on the bottom, it is the no new revenue rate. I'm sorry, I misspoke. The adjusted voter approval tax rate is the green. The actual tax rate in our proposed is the blue. So for next year, the proposed is below the de minimis and above the voter approval, just right there in between. For property values, you can see the 3% increase in taxable value compared to recent years is a very significant decrease in the percent of increase. Last 4 years, we've had double-digit percentage, and this year's 3%. This 2019 negative 4%, that's an adjustment for Lone Star property. So really, the last time we've had an increase in taxable value this small was back in tax year 2016 when it was just 2%. For the average home, total payment would be $1,383, which is a 31% increase. For operating, just the operating portion, that would increase from $966 to $1,057. That is a 9% increase, which is actually the average from all of these prior years. But for the debt service, it's increasing from $87 to $326, which is a 277% increase. This graph shows the increase of those payments, the green being for operations and the orange being for debt service. Before I move on to other revenue, does anybody have any questions about these property tax revenue calculations or the tax rates? Okay, I'm also going to point out the sales tax revenue, an 8% increase there, which gives us a $277,000 increase. Franchise taxes are trending down. What we have budgeted for next year is $1,095,000. That's the actual amount that we collected in fiscal year 23-24. But for comparing the budgets, that's a 14% decrease. Then also transfers to other funds. I'm going to point this out again. I pointed out before. That's a 20% increase. That's a transfer from the utility fund to the general fund. But overall, for the general fund, it's an increase in revenue of almost $541,000 or 4%. For our major sources of revenue, first is going to be our water receipts. Black line there on the graph, it's the highest. It varies greatly depending on the weather, people's watering patterns, but you can see how it has been trending there. And then the next after that in the red is our property tax revenue. It has been the fastest increasing. Then in the green is our sales tax revenue. The rate of increase has slowed here in recent years, but this year we are seeing an increase as well. And then in the orange is our sewer receipt revenue. In the blue, we have our solid waste fees. And then you can see the trend there on the bottom of our franchise fees and how we budgeted for the same in the last actual year. For the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and jump to our expenses unless anybody has any questions about revenue. There's a lot of factors with that. A large one's going to be people cutting cords. They're not paying for cable. They're not paying for landlines. That's revenue we're going to lose when they do that.
Another factor is natural gas. So Atmos, also the fuel factor on XL for electricity. When that goes down, those rates go down. and they've been down the last year or so. So that impacts franchise tax as well.
When we look at our expenses, you can see the major category of spending here. We do have the 3% increase in budget. I like to do a per capita calculation with that. So with an estimated population in next year of 16,354, that per capita expense would be 1,600, which fits very similar to the last couple years. Last year's budget was 1,570 and actual in 23-24 was 1,603. And you can see the trends of these major categories, personnel being the largest and the fastest growing. Capital contractual services, pretty flat there. Supplies is lower than actual years because these actual years include depreciation. We do not budget for depreciation, we budget for cash. So you can see it's kind of flat there from budget to budget there. Capital outlay decreasing, and also here recently transferred to CIP funds also decreasing. As I mentioned, we're doing less projects funded by operating revenue and more funded by debt. And this report is where we're showing the major increases in expenses. So first we have 3 firefighters that we hired this current year just for 6 months. We're going to have them for a full year next year, so we need to include that in the budget, so that's $104,000. Increased overtime for the fire department of $10,000. A part-time EMS FRO coordinator, that's $42,558. And also the 3 positions that are part of the SAFER grant, this is the city's match for that first year, $57,150. Then for the police department, moving to the step pay, that 117 would be above a 3% merit, which is included elsewhere. So this is just the additional amount for them to move to a step pay. To SRO, we're replacing the officers that are moving to SRO positions. Net of Canyon ISD's share would be $48,000 and a $15,000 increase for overtime for the police department. Then for administration, here's the 3% merit. I wanted to point out these extra reports that y'all had as well. First is this one. These are additional reports that y'all asked for in our one-on-one meetings. This is our step pay schedule. As we are trying to move to 80% of Amarillo's step pay schedule. So you can see Amarillo's there on the far right. In year 1, which would be next year, starting for a police officer, that pay would be $54,286, which is 77.5% of Amarillo. The current starting pay for an officer is $51,323. So you can kind of compare how those rates are going to be changing and where this cost is going to. The next page after that is a calculation of our merit increase. You can see what the amounts would be for if they stayed the same. If we did just a 1% increase, that's an increase of $107,853. Or if we did just the 2% increase, that increased our cost by $215,706. But what's included in the budget for all 3 funds is that 3% merit with an increased cost of $323,560. So going back to this other page, still under administration for the general fund, vacation and sick leave payouts of $82,186. This is not a new policy. This is a policy we've had in place already. If somebody leaves and they've accumulated vacation or sick leave, they get paid a portion of that. Or if an active employee accumulates so much, they can be paid for that. Before, we've just made that adjustment in our operations. It's grown to such a large amount now that we feel we need to budget for it. So as you can see here for the general fund, that's over $80,000. Then the position for the assistant city attorney, $60,000. New open records request software, $12,288. Time clocks and time management software, $54,000. This is the cost for purchasing that equipment and setup fees. After the initial year, it's just $7,000 a year. And then for general fund contingency, $5,069. And then we're looking to purchase a new trash truck from the capital equipment fund. The general fund's payment back to the capital equipment fund, that first payment would be $37,050 there. So overall, the increases to the general fund, you're looking at $926,000. I did want to point out, we only increased general fund revenue by $540,000. So the additional $380,000 had to come from cuts that we made to the general fund. Items that we've discussed but are not included in the preliminary budget: fire department step pay, a new storm siren, Hunsley Road street repair. Total cost for that would be about $2.2 million. In order to do that, we would increase what's currently in the budget by $1,760,000. Then $50,000 for pickleball court improvements, and annual brick street repair transfers to the CIP funds just to have available as needed, $100,000. So there's an additional over $2 million in requests that we did not include in the budget. Then looking at the utility fund, we have that 3% merit. Also, their vacation and sick leave payouts of over $17,000. Water department leak detection. This is chemical leak detection, $7,500. A water programmable logic controls for automations, updates there, $35,000. A variable frequency drive water pump, $49,000. Starter water panels for 3 water wells, $6,000. 4 water meters at WT, $34,000. Wastewater irrigation pump, $32,000. And this is something that we're having to place multiple insurance claims on right now. And then pre-funding our server replacement, which we are reaching our capacity. This would be 50% of the cost of that replacement. So 50% this year, 50% next year. The new debt that we issued earlier this year, this is water department's portion and wastewater department's portion. It's over $800,000 for that payment next year. Transfer the CIP fund for possible land easements, $75,000, and contingency for the utility fund, $74,000. So that's over $1.2 million of increases in the utility fund. Looking the same, we increased revenue for the utility fund by $414,000. The additional $848 had to come from cuts. Most of those come from debt that we had paid off this year, and also fewer CIP projects. Items that aren't included in there, annual water line replacement, annual wastewater line replacement. These are transfers to the CIP project to be used as needed. We have not been able to fit that in the budget since it was initially discussed. Any questions yet y'all have about these increases?
You know, just looking both, so the vacation sick leave is right at $100,000 then.
About $110,000.
Yeah.
That is correct.
It's a new piece and just doing it differently.
Yeah, we always incurred the cost.
Right.
We just made it up with any expenses that came under budget at the end of the year. Joel would usually include that with his year-end budget adjustments. But because it has grown to such a large amount, we need to start planning for that in advance.
Okay.
All right, looking at increases by department, general fund, there's the 4% increase. I'm going to point out police department 7%, fire department 19%, and Randall County Communications 22% increase. That's our dispatch. Taking just those 3 alone, we're looking at an increase of $735,000 or 12%. So that is beyond our increase in property tax revenue. Other items, this decrease for administration of 7%. We are Previously, HR department was included there in administration. We are now separating that as its own department, and it is now moving to a utility fund department. And you can see that there as Department 526. I'm also going to point out utility billing finance 3% increase there. As we look at another report here in just a minute, I just want to point out that that is just a 3% increase. Later, we're going to see that split, or where it had been split before, but it isn't being split differently. I'll get to that in just a minute, but I just wanted to point that out now. So if I split the departments, I combine them into 4 major categories: administration, public safety, community service, recreation, golf, and public works and utilities. You can see there in the orange, public works and utilities is our largest, but is relatively flat for next year. Continued increase there for public safety there in the red. Green, community service, recreation, golf. This will be the second year of decreases in expenses for them, but that is also less of the capital equipment payment for the golf fund and less debt service for the golf fund as well. So that is included in next year's decrease. And then a small increase there for administration as well. Public works being 41%, public safety 30%, community service, recreation, golf 19%, and administration being 10% of our budget. Looking at administration, this is what I wanted to point out. This 16% increase in personnel isn't an actual 16%. In prior years, Joel's salary was split between,
Utility billing.
I'll say in these major categories, and as administrative, and then also utility building, which is included under public works. Here, for next year, we're putting it all here under administration. So we're just moving one number from one column to another. It looks like a 16% increase there, but if I go to public works, it's a 1% decrease there. So that's just us moving a number from one report to another.
And we'll backtrack a little bit and point out that we've now got administrative costs split almost 50-50 between general fund and utility fund. By moving HR and by getting my compensation where it should be in the finance, not split between finance and utility billing. So that administrative line item, a couple pages back on page 17, where you see the categories by fund. Total administration for 210 is a little over $1 million, and for utility fund for 500 and 505, it's just below 1 million. So they're pretty close now between the two funds, between governmental funds and enterprise funds.
Other increases for administration, the 77% increase for supplies, that's related to the pre-funding of the server, as well as some other equipment purchases there for IT. 7% for contractual services, that's going to be the new software, the time clocks, and the timekeeping software. Capital outlay, that 177 increase looks large. We're moving from 65,000 to 18,000, and that's furniture for HR when they move from upstairs to downstairs as part of this building's renovations. Public safety, their increases are in personnel. All other categories are decreasing. I mentioned the decreases there in community service.
You've lost the screen.
I've lost the screen. I've been kicked out. I have lost internet.
It's a sign. It's probably IT, you should have put more in their budget.
That's it.
They strike back.
We got porta potties lined up across the street from his house during the 4th of July.
Yep. Parks let me know how they felt. All right, so here you can see the decrease, as I mentioned, the golf course, their capital outlay, less payment there to the capital equipment fund, 48%. Debt service also from the GOF fund, 88% decrease. So this is where the large decrease in costs are coming for these combined categories. Then for Public Works, as I mentioned, that 1% decrease was just an adjustment for Joel's salary. You can see the decrease there in capital or CIP projects, 51%. Speaking of CIP projects, there are really only two that are included in this next year's budget. The 8th Street sidewalks, 193, 897, and that transfer to CIP funds for potential land easements of 75,000. And that graph shows the trend of declining transfers to the CIP fund from operations. And then for personnel, total wages, you can see 8% increase. Payroll taxes match that 8%. Our health insurance, we do have a 3% decrease of about $50,000. Retirement increased there by 13%, and our workers' compensation insurance also decreased to $57,000. So between health insurance and workers' compensation, we actually decreased personnel costs by about $100,000. So we were very thankful to see those. But overall personnel costs increasing by 7%. I'm going to point out one other report, additional ones that I printed out for y'all, is this one here. These are our payments from the operating funds to the capital equipment fund, and you can see how that's been trending over the last 10 years. 10 years ago, that was $245,000. In next year's budget, it's up to $542,000, almost $543,000.
To just the wages sheet here. So we're going to 8% on total wages, but the retirement's 13%?
That is correct.
Why is that based off of what the market did last year or something, or what? Why the difference?
It's based on the actuarial study that they do for the calendar year, and they give us the rate that we'll need to contribute starting next year.
Right.
So the liability changes with the stock market each year. And so they adjust that contribution rate based on the results of the actuarial study.
So there's really two things feedback-wise that we as staff are seeking from y'all. First being, as I'm going to be publishing our proposed budget on our website later this week, I'm looking for a tax rate that you all are comfortable with putting on that report. If it is lower than our current proposed rate, what cuts would you want us to make? And again, one spot to look is this additions sheet that shows all the additions to the budget of where you would like to make those changes. The other thing, feedback I'm looking for y'all is we have an optional work session on our schedule for the next commission meeting. And after tonight, do you want to have that optional meeting or not? So we're welcome to take any feedback, any questions, any discussions y'all like to have.
You know, just a couple of comments that, and I think I had earlier talking to Joe and Bo, but, you know, a couple things to me. I mean, it really did stick out to me, Paul, you know, the franchise. I mean, that's, you know, the franchise fees and the fee income decrease is really the same amount as what we're looking at as far as property tax. those decreases in those categories and all. And I don't know, I guess we're pretty confident those decreases are, we're gonna have to live with those, or, I guess that would be a question there.
If natural gas prices went back up, that fee revenue would go back up.
Yeah.
But I don't, it just keeps going down. Oil and gas prices, the market's been a little bit recovery lately, but it's dropped back down again, so that's really the only factor that will change that franchise fee revenue significantly. There's nothing new coming in that we're gonna get from that. We get a little bit off of fiber optic, I think, and whatever's there from existing utility. And then if they start building again, that would potentially
Increase
increase
the
it.
fee income.
Yes, new homes would increase some of that. The fuel factor is such a, we do all those rate cases, Gary, we bring those to you. The fuel factor is just that huge thing on the natural gas. We have maxed out those percentages. The max we can do is 5%. And we can do that locally on natural gas and electricity. The statewide cable is state mandated. We have no, and it's 5% as well.
Well, I guess the positive for homeowners is their taxes are lower on that side, because basically that's another tax for homeowners.
Yes.
The other thing that really, jumps out at me and gets my attention is, if you look at, it's on page 21, and we talked about that too, but the chart of expenses by category, you've got everything else flat, all the capital outlays, supplies over, since 2021, 2022, but personnel expenses, been a steady trend up. And, my thought is, and, you look at things like, we're not including water line or sewer line replacement this year. I mean, those are pretty basics. My thought is that those trends really not sustainable long-term. And, I think the only way to fix that is some hard decisions. I mean, take a 3% to a 2%, or you could put on some hiring freezes, or, I think it's some tough decisions, but at some point, you can't keep those items even level or going down some and operate the city. I think that's not sustainable, I don't think. So I think, could be some tough answers to figure out how to take care of that, so. Other thoughts or things that could look at different, or?
On merit raises, are they just always considered at 3%? Is that just how it's always been?
We did do 5% back the first year of, big year of inflation. And so, that is the thing about personnel. Anything we put there compounds over time too.
Right.
So.
We have frozen the table, our
Pay scale.
pay scale, thank you. This will be the second year, Hector? So pay scale has been frozen.
What do you mean by that?
We're not moving it up with the
So
pay.
just staying with it?
Mhm.
But does that still fit into that 3%, or is that an
No.
additional expense?
It's only for active employees. So whoever gets hired there would be at that pay scale. So the pay scale is not moving up with the 3% raise.
Okay. But in the past,
Some of it had been, yes.
Mayor Pro Tem, thoughts?
I have none.
Paul?
Chief, can you explain to me the part-time EMS person again, please?
So currently, I have a full-time firefighter, paramedic that is performing that function. And it is a pretty much time-consuming function of reviewing those reports. He has a pending departure going to work at Pantex Fire Department. And if approved, this would allow me to keep him on part-time to keep that function going because I have no one else trained to that level at this time.
So how long will it take you to get someone up to speed?
We have two that have pending paramedic certification tests coming up. And I would say probably after a couple of years of field experience and get them through their field training program, they should be at a level that they possibly could perform that function. The one that's in it right now has 8 years.
He's gonna learn that in
Yeah.
the service.
Anyway, upwards of 10 years of field training or experience to make sure that those reports are written properly and all the medical protocols that we have established are being followed.
That's the question I had too, Danny. Just, if that's something, just looking at what we, might potentially take out, but I did ask.
A few closing statements, if you will allow me.
Okay.
So, thanks for everybody for putting in the time and effort. Appreciate it. Most of what we've proposed today is our case for action, our police and fire, just like we have been doing. They're the backbone of our safe, stable, and livable city here in Kenyon. We are seeing strains in those areas. Thankfully, emergency response times have continued to carry over and be good. We're struggling on equipment, radios, protective gear, fire engines. The biggest struggle that we have seen at the surface that we've been studying for the last 2 to 3 years is struggling to attract and retain qualified professionals in a highly competitive regional market. And that's especially in the police department. I think we're doing fairly well on the fire side of it because we're in such infant stage there. In addition, our training facilities and programs, need to be modernized and evolved with the challenges we face today, especially with the mental health stuff going on, the SRO stuff going on, and large-scale emergencies, just like we're seeing all over the state. We feel that we're bringing forth a modest tax increase with this proposal to help recruit and retain qualified police officers and firefighters with a competitive compensation and support to bring with it. In addition to investing in our equipment and our infrastructure. Several of the taxpayers of Kenyon have voted to help us do that with this past bond election as well. The community has shown their support by doing that as well as also working towards, with these departments, enhancing training and readiness on top of everything else. For the average homeowner, this increase on operations is less than $30 a month, which is less than a trip to a fast food joint. But it's for peace of mind, faster response times, and a better protected neighborhoods. At this point, I feel that we cannot afford to wait to delay this. We feel the gap continues to widen. We're not the only city in this dilemma. Our peers across the state of Texas are also in the same dilemma. Between our first responders that we asked, we got to equip them and fund them. In my mind, we need to address this now and proactively in this manner in order to shape the future rather than continue to resist. None of this is about growing government. It's about reinforcing the core obligation to protect the people that live here, that work here, and the families that are being raised here by this investment. We will continue to ensure that the funding is tracked transparently, reported publicly, and reviewed annually so our citizens and y'all know exactly how their tax dollars are being used, just like we have been. In our mind, it's not a tax increase, it's a commitment to safety, accountability, and to the people we serve in the community. Thank you.
At a point, I think, and we'll take our vote, but I think it really would be productive in the process to have some feedback, and I get it takes a while to digest everything, but I think, for Joe and Bo and Joel, I think that would sure, be very productive and helpful, and so, my thought is we probably will go ahead and put another work session out there for the next meeting and give everybody some time to chew on it. And I know everybody'd be glad to field questions in the meantime too, and dig through and see, I don't know if there's a magic bullet out there, but we can dig in and see what we can come up with. So thank you all. And yeah, Joe, I know, you all are digging in, and there's some tough pieces in there, like the franchise tax piece. I mean, you'd like for it not to be that direction in a growing city and all too, but and plus our commitment, and I think everybody's been on board, and I guess we'll see, but with just the whole police piece, and I talked to a lady that I worked with earlier, said her husband loved to come to work for Kenyon, but he worked for Amarillo, and the pay difference it's really big. So, but anyway, well, thank you all. Appreciate
We will
your
move
work.
forward with scheduling that at the tentative time. My question back, Gary, is there any additional information that Mr. Boyer or Mr. Wright or myself can provide to help for additional transparency on the finances? If not, I mean, we've given you a lot. That's nothing to say less. We just want to make sure we've covered our bases with everybody, so. If there does come and after this meeting or between now and then, please feel free to reach out to Bo or to Mr. Wright. You do not have to come through me to reach out to that. But you feel free to reach out to them if there's anything specific. So I know one of the things was the FRO, or excuse me, the position. I did send that out to the commission. There was several questions on that. Try to get that out. I did ask Bo to include what the merit increases for 0, 1, 2, and 3% were. So we've included that here today. Mr. Boyer would be happy to send that out post-meeting so everybody has an electronic version of them. So those have come out of our discussions. Anything else comes out that you see desired that we'd like to see, we'd be happy to send that. Just simply ask, please. I think we're good if you want to take a
All
break.
right, very good. If you all want to, we'll take a break and we'll start back at it at 4:30. Okay.
Yep.
With that, we've got item number 5, the approval of minutes of the meeting of July 1st, 2020.
There's no additions. I move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion second to approve the minutes as written. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Item number 6, public comment, comments from interested citizens. Gretchen?
Mayor, we had a few sign in to talk about item 15.
Item 15,
Yes, so if you want to do that now.
get to that item. Okay. Thank you. Then we'll go ahead and close the public comments at that point. And item number 7, consider and take appropriate action related to the City of Canyon entering into an agreement with BSA EMS to provide EMS services inside the City of Canyon corporate city limits. Chief Glenn.
Thanks. Commissioners, just to let you know, kind of a brief overview about our EMS services here in Canyon. As you all well know, approximately a year ago, we became concerned about the level of EMS service that we were receiving here in Canyon. We met with top leadership from BSA Hospital, and a lot of things have changed since that time for the better, definitely for the better. It's been about 11 months now since some major changes have been made with EMS. Since that time, as far as I'm concerned, they have exceeded my expectations on improvement. We do have John Smith here today with UT East Texas, and he can explain all that and the relationship with BSA, but he's here to give us a short presentation. The agenda item is to enter into agreement. It's my opinion that we have made it to the point where we do need to go ahead and enter into this agreement. Thank you.
John, will you introduce yourself and title?
Yes, sir. My name is John Smith. I'm the CEO for UT Health East Texas EMS. Kind of the relationship, we're the sister hospital to BSA in East Texas. Our corporate company owns 2 ambulance companies, one here in the Panhandle and one in East Texas. So that's kind of how that comes together. But real quick, let me just introduce my team I got here. I got Cassandra Harrison as our Director of Operations. Matt Horton is our Clinical Manager. Tony Hernandez is our Operations Manager back in East Texas, who we had on loan here for several months. And then we have Jerome as our COO for the hospital here in Amarillo. So really appreciate I'll try to be brief, but I was asked back in August of last year to come out and do an evaluation of, the BSA's EMS system. Jerome and I met with some of you guys, a lot of elected officials, a lot of first responders, and we can flip the slide. And some of the things that came up was, we looked at resources, training, how we were working with first responders, and we identified a lot of needs that we needed to do. We needed to add more resources, we needed to add more people. So if we can go to the next slide, I'll kind of go through this. We immediately realized that I think we were running 2 ambulances a day then. We doubled that to 4. We're running 3 24-hour trucks, 1 truck during the day. And then as we do extra events, we add additional trucks for that. So we've went from 5 physical vehicles to 7 since that time. We've nearly doubled the staff that we've had. And we've worked really close with Chief Gwynn, his department, with Randall County Fire to kind of build a relationship that we work together. So and we also immediately placed Tony over here full-time until we could hire a permanent candidate, and we have that with Cassandra. She's been here since February. Time flies. And then Matt's been with us since February. So next slide. So after consulting with the city and the county people, we made the request to move the dispatch from the way the calls were running. They were coming from the county to the city of Amarillo and back to BSA ambulance. So we dispatch several counties across the state as it is. We have an ACE accredited center, dispatch over 100,000 calls. So we asked, could we move that to East Texas where we could have more control over the system? I met with the chiefs and the sheriff's office earlier today, and I'll tell you, it's been working great. With that, one example of how that has benefited for us is we now have 24/7 oversight. We have a much larger team, not just our BSA management team here. We have our BSA counterparts in East Texas that are constantly monitoring your ambulance service 24/7. Back during, I think it was back last March, you had that dust storm. My goodness, I don't want to bring up anything that would cause y'all to remember that, but Cassandra was out on the scene trying to work that out. Matt was running around putting up stuff. We had, at the time, 4 trucks that we normally staff. Tony and I, because we're dispatching, we're constantly in the loop of what's going on. We ended up staffing 7 trucks, and we had an 8th truck ready to go. I know we only said we had 7 physical trucks. We were coordinating from our dispatch center to borrow one of the RAC ambulances to put that in service, but the incident kind of wound down. So that's why I say that I think that was a big improvement for us to work the county directly with our EMS center. So big plus. Next slide. The other thing we did is back in December, we transitioned to one medical director for our whole company. We brought on Dr. Yagnesh Desai. He's our full-time medical director in East Texas. He previously lived here in the Panhandle, worked in the ER here, so he knew the players, he knew how the system works up here, he plugged in right away. So we were able to integrate first responder protocols with our EMS protocols and kind of bring more of a full-time hands-on medical director approach here. Then in February, as we mentioned earlier, we brought on Matt. With bringing on Matt, we brought a 100% call review. We can have classes taught for our fire departments and more education for our staff locally. So we feel that a commitment to educating and improving the EMS service and the providers we've got is important. I think we've shown that with the medical director and the full-time clinical director. And Matt is backed up by 6 people in East Texas that also helps produce content. Then we talked a little bit earlier, so I won't dive too long in this, but we've really been trying to work closely with our first responders. The fact that we're going to show up on the scene together, we need to be training together. We need to know what each other does. We need to understand the protocols that we're going to go over. The equipment needs to be the same. So we're working close on that, working with the different software protocols from the state. And then in addition to that, we've added some equipment to your fire department as well as the county with some of the Lucas devices that provide CPR to your patients. We got out here, we saw that we had them on our ambulance, but a lot of times your fire department shows up first. And in order to get the best benefit for save a person's life is to get that equipment on them right away. So BSA, fortunately Jerome, I went to him, said, hey, we need some of these Lucas devices. He said, yes, here they are. So those are on your fire departments, and Chief Gwen, I think, probably use them sometimes already. Some other equipment we're adding, some ventilators that were coming in with training to help move some of these high critical patients around, and different things as we go. We're going to keep adding equipment as needed. Now, I kind of go through that pretty quick because I don't want to take up too much of y'all's time, but that's kind of what we've done in the last 11 months. We've moved a lot of, we've added people, we've added resources, we're adding new equipment, we're changing protocols, trying to really up the culture. You've probably seen the new uniforms, the new look. We're trying to really standardize what we do. But we're not done yet. In our East Texas market, we're accredited with the CAS. If you ever look at that, that's less than 2% of ambulance companies in the nation hold that standard. There's 12 currently in the state of Texas. We want BSA to be the 13th in Texas. So that is our goal. I think that is our commitment to get this ambulance service to the next step, and that's what we're working on. It's a lot to get accredited, but I feel we'll be there within the next year. So with that, if there's any questions you may have, happy to answer, or anything from the hospital, Jerome is here to answer. I know I kind of went through that pretty quick, but happy to answer anything you got.
Pro Tem, you've been in the middle of this.
No, as far as our office, they've done an outstanding job. I mean, the improvements drastic, and what we see
most often, you know, because we're there for a short amount of time, is patient care, and that's definitely improved, and response times are really, really good, and so they're easy to get a hold of. Their staff is easy to get a hold of. Their CEOs easy to get a hold of, so it's been great for us.
Chief Glenn, well, you mentioned Dr. Desai, medical direction, our staff, training, kind of some of that we've gotten in lots of improvements as being an ALS.
So one Wednesday night a month, BSA provides our EMS CE training through their program, and a lot of times our firefighter paramedic Zach Ayala presents that material, and when extra help is needed for skills practice, BSA EMS is right there to help along. But Dr. Desai, he's the first medical director in about my 40 years that I have seen darken our door and walk in and give us hands-on instruction. And he's done that on a regular basis. So he's very easy to work with. He's very easy to get a hold of. Previous medical direction, we had to go through the EMS director to even get a question to our medical director. Now, just call him up and ask. So it's been great.
But what we talked about with Zach Ayala in that position is a predominant part of that job, him making sure that our staff and the fire department are
Yes.
meeting those medical directions by Dr. Desai. Is that correct?
Dr. Desai and Zach work together, and there's others working with it about a QI process to enhance the quality improvement program on our EMS side, to review those reports, make sure the clinicians are following protocol and providing the proper treatment. And if we see deficiencies in that, or even good things, we develop kind of an update on a monthly or bi-monthly basis, and Zach goes over those things as a educational tool.
I want to say thank you. When we first started talking about this, to be honest, I didn't have to experience any of the actual calls, but all of the reports coming to me from various entities that had experienced that were not positive and were very concerning. But you have taken this and you took it seriously and you turned it around, and it probably went above and beyond even what we were wanting. So thank you for really focusing on it and pushing forward to make sure these services are brought to our community.
I agree. Thank you, John. And Jerome, thank you for being here today. And I think pass it on to Michael for us as well. So, you know, I know that first meeting, you all really felt like you took it to heart, and there was a passion for working to turn things around. And yeah, thank you. It's beyond, I think, our expectations. So appreciate it. So.
Thank you.
With that, I would entertain a motion.
Move we approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the contract for EMS services with BSA. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign.
Are we gonna arm wrestle for that second?
Danny Howell.
That was a very close tie, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was. I think I
Good
won.
team. You won. Are we gonna get competitive tonight?
Thank goodness.
All right, very good. Well, the motion passes, and thank you all again. And appreciate you all being here. Okay, item number 8, to consider and take appropriate action on ordinance number 1230, an ordinance amending the City of Canyon, Texas Code of Ordinances, Chapter 37, master fee schedule of charges and fees, providing for the addition of new and amendment of certain other fees and charges, providing a repealing clause, providing a severability clause for publication and effective date. Bob.
Thank you. I'm back again. Part of the budgeting process is updating our fee schedule. We do it a little bit sooner than we do with the budget adoption to make sure we have time to prepare materials to put out to the public so that when their bill comes in, they're not surprised by any changes. But in order to prepare those materials, it usually takes about a month just for us to prepare it before it even goes out. So that's why we're doing this step sooner. Some of the changes that are included, the Canyon Aqua Park, a $1 increase to admission fees, increase to the 10 visit passes and birthday party rentals. For the golf course, we have increases in green fees, irrigation, construction debt service requirements, and operation revenue. Also an increase for golf cart fees, After several years of increases in fees for the golf course, to prepare for the irrigation debt, people are pretty much tired of us increasing those fees. So after this one, we want to keep the fees the same about for the next 3 to 5 years. So that was our goal when we set the amounts for these fees. For Parks and Rec, we removed Brown Road baseball practice fields from the fees because those fields are no longer there. For Planning and Development, there's new fees for work without a required inspection. The new same-day inspection fee, that proposed fees decreased from $150 to $75. Also, not included on that schedule, we want to change the name of that proposed fee from same-day inspection fee to same-day inspection priority fee, just to reemphasize that this is like you're getting rush shipping. This is an additional amount to get priority. So we use the name same-day inspection priority fee. Also update the description with that to note that it is additional to the permit fee. So a little bit more details there as to what that fee is for. And then also we're going to add an additional $10 per acre over 1 acre fee for subdivision development, replat, subdivision development, primary plat, submittal fees. That's a mouthful. When looking at utility fees, first there's the commercial and education sewer rates. Our current rate structure is very difficult to understand. The minimum monthly fee varies depending on what type of business it is. It's unclear if the tiered amounts above the minimum are supposed to compound or not. We typically do not because that benefits the customer more. So we want more clarity on there by just setting one minimum monthly fee for all commercial accounts and setting one volumetric rate for all accounts as well. That's for the sewer. For water utility, proposed changes are in accordance with the 5-year phase-in schedule from Nugent rate study. The rate study guided our decision when we issued the debt this February, that $10.2 million in debt. These water utility rates are set to provide the revenue we need to make that debt service payment next year. I want to go ahead and look at some of the reports for those utility rates. If you'll go to page 49 for me, Gretchen. Oh, too far. Sorry, it's PDF page 49.
My pages aren't numbered.
Oh, keep going up. Keep going. And the next one. There we go. So these are for residents. You can see where the utility rates were in 2022, 2023. Then 2024, 23, 24 is when we first started using the fees from the utility rate study. So for all of these minimum monthly fees based off of meter sizes, you can see 5/8 meter and 3/4 meters do not change. Over 5 years, the 1-inch meter increases by 30%, 1.5 by 150%, and it increases greatly as the meter gets larger. The utility rate study did not include 8-inch meters, so that's based off of a percentage above the 6-inch meter. So you can see overall, 8-inch will be a 45% increase from what we set. But for the volumetric, there is no change over the next 5 year, or over this 5-year period, I should say, for any usage below 20,000 gallons. For the tiers above that, it's a 10% increase over that 5-year period or a 2% increase each year. You can see that the bold amounts there for 25, 26 are the proposed amounts on our fee schedule. Looking at sewer rates, we're not proposing a change, but we did change that minimum monthly fee for residentials last year, or I should say this current year. Solid waste utility fees, no changes, no plans of changes at this time. And vector control, that $1.50 monthly fee was changed to every month in 23, 24. The next page, looking at commercial accounts. The water utility fees are the same as residential. You can see the change in the sewer utility, the updated fee schedule there. And then solid waste utilities, we did increase that amount in 23, 24, same as the vector control. For education water, and I'm going to make a big correction, the volumetric consumption, there's only one volumetric rate for education. I went a little copy paste happy here. So anything over 2,000 gallons for education right now is at $5.41 per 1,000 gallons. The proposed rate for next year would be $5.52. At the end of the 5-year period, that would be $5.74. It follows the same rate of increase, 2% each year, 10% increase over the 5-year period. That same percentage as the commercial and residential rates.
Oh, what do we pay City of Amarillo? What's our rate?
Eric, you know that one?
No, top of my head.
I think Joel's looking it up.
Since we buy a good amount of it at that, and I'd be interested to know what that rate, if we know what it's gonna do this next year too.
That's right. I'll give him time to look that up. Looking at the sewer utility changes for education, most education accounts, it's at 58% of their consumption. 22-23, that rate was $6.06. This current year, we increased it to $6.42. The proposed is an increase to $6.59, which is a 9% increase over that 5-year period, or roughly 2% each year. There is that one WT account for their cooling tower, which is a very large consumption account. That's billed at 40% of their consumption. Right now, it's at $6.06, and the proposed increase is to $6.59. Education solid waste utility did increase in 23-24, but is projected to stay the same, and the same for the vector control. Still looking. I still wanted to also point out, there was a lot of discussion about water conservation efforts. Some preliminary research looked at 4 main strategies. First being financial incentives such as water rebates or credits, rebate programs for water efficient appliances or tiered water rates. We do use those tiered water rates for those higher consumption accounts. The second one is landscape and outdoor water use incentives, such as xeriscaping incentives, free or discounted rain barrels, smart irrigation assessments. Third is education and engagement, such as challenges, contests, some recognition programs, free home water audits. What we are currently doing includes the WaterSmart software, which allows all of our users to view their current consumption and compare that to averages. Social media posts, we did one recently in June about conservation methods that reached about 2.1 thousand. And then also we recently released our annual water quality report, which did include a section for water conservation and drought contingency. The fourth strategy being regulatory and supportive measures, leak detection, new construction standards, rainwater harvesting or gray water system permits. What we are doing now is we do offer a leak adjustment credit for residential accounts that do have a large leak. They have the option to apply for a 50% credit for their excess consumption. And also we're looking into vescue restrictions to disallow some species of grass that would require a lot of irrigation.
$6.23 per thousand. $6.23 per thousand.
We're paying City of Amarillo $6.20. So we're paying them more than what we're charging on water rates.
Correct.
So we're
They've
buying high and
increased.
selling low.
That's not the only water they get, though.
We supplement with.
No, but that's, that's wholesale and we're selling retail. I don't know. I think,
We're buying it at retail rates.
I don't know that we need to figure it all out tonight, but yeah, that doesn't even make sense that we can buy wholesale water at retail rates and try to put all of our costs on top of it and sell it cheaper than that. I don't know. I think that's something
What percentage of the water comes from the City of Amarillo?
Generally, it's just in the summertime that we use higher volume. And it just depends.
Eric can speak to that. Eric,
Ballpark.
We averaged it out, say 20 to 25%.
we did that spreadsheet where it showed our annual buy of Amarillo water. It'd been averaging 1.5 million a year. Some years were lower and some years was higher.
Here recently, it has decreased to somewhere around $800,000, $900,000 a year.
We're relying more on our wells, sir.
You know, and maybe, you know, we need to be grateful we've got that contract and that long-term contract that's critical. I don't know if there's any potential discussion with City of Amarillo that, you know, we're buying that much.
Mr. Burns actually did the research, like when we started that, what was it, in the 70s? Pulled those articles.
It's hard, but I did find those
It
articles.
literally
yes.
said we're gonna pay retail rate in the.
Yes, that's what was agreed to originally on that. And I don't think that's been addressed in quite some time.
Or changed.
Correct. And typically on the rate, it's the kind of thing all of a sudden we'll hear, hey, we're gonna change that rate, or
Yeah.
we're not sure until the last minute, just like you all. They're working on that at this point in time and never sure until, boom, there it is.
And I get we need that supply, but from a business side, that sounds crazy that we're selling water cheaper than what we're buying it for. I mean, that just, I don't know, putting our costs on top of it. So, I don't think we have to solve that tonight, but I think that's something we need to know and keep in mind. And I don't know on what all sides, but.
Am I confused? That's 20%, we're paying a higher rate on 20% of the water
25%.
that we supplement
Yes.
in high use times? And you're concerned about that we're paying too much for it?
I'm concerned that we're paying more than what we're selling it for. That doesn't make sense. Yes, some business owners, you can't
But it's,
do that long
you're
term.
paying more on what you're selling, 20% of it?
I'm saying you just, that doesn't make sense. So you buy a product and you add cost to it and maintaining pipelines and everything else and all our personnel, and then you're selling it for less. That's, I don't know. I think that we need to think that through. So I think we.
I'm trying to remember if we took that into consideration, Mr. Wright, in
Part of our study.
with New Gen. I think we took some of that into
It's a
consideration.
supplement, so it's not like we pay 100% of our volume at that rate. That would be a portion of what we use at that rate.
And then averaging that in
20%.
with what our production costs are and what our actual cost for production is.
I do think we took that into discussion in detail when we did look at that as a big picture.
I'd love to see you get it done. I'd love to see you be able to justify us raising our water rates to our ratepayers at the same time going to the city of Merrill and asking them to lower their rate to us. I would love to see you work that out.
Well, what'd be ideal is we
I think there's
produce
a
enough
motion
that
for
we
Mayor
can-
Pro Tem Jones to take that into consideration.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that rate's been set for a long time. And it was a higher percentage of the cost to the taxpayer when we started that than it is today.
But I think they have increased their price substantially over the last 10 years too.
I would agree with that. We will do an analysis on their rates over the last 10 years, Mr. Wright, when we get time to do that, and we can get you that report. I know Bo does have a sheet, he doesn't have it in here, we did look at it during the budget, I know I've seen it, over the last 10 years of how much we have spent, and so. Correct. So I know it's always been a challenge.
These proposed changes would go effect October 1st, except for the fees for the golf course, which would go into effect January 1st of next year.
Paul, I did have one other thing in all too. I know you raised a question last time we talked about this, about the accelerated inspection fee. And I think Lucas and City was coming at it from increasing customer service. And maybe it's too high, and I think looking at reducing that, I don't know if that's lowering it enough to 75, but I think from a builder standpoint, if you got a builder that comes in and says, I've got to have this, today and here in just a little bit, have an inspector out there so we can keep going. This would add a process where that could happen. Otherwise, it's just, well, you're just stuck for 2 or 3 days, and to me, that's bad customer service. But you can't have a builder that says, you know, I've got to have this today, and then next week comes in, I've got to have this today. There needs to be something that makes it fair on both sides. So if you got builder over here and builder over here, how do you provide that without some fee and whatever you think could be fair? But I think it's good customer service if we do something. That's what I think.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Gary. And just to speak more to that, that's what we changed from 150 to 75. You know, originally 150 in my head, that was a single permit plus the fee. And so we kind of just clarified that, lowered it just to 75. And so whatever your permit is that you've already paid, you know, that fee, if it's for a whole house, then you've paid more. But if it's just a single one-off, you know, plumbing or electrical fee, then it's 75. And then this priority fee would be on top of that. So if you're pulling a permit today, but you've already started the work and you need to get the inspection today, then you have the availability to pay for that priority fee. If you already have a permit for a whole house or a larger remodel project, whatever else, and then you feel like you need that priority inspection that day, this gives you the option to request that same day inspection for that $75 fee. So that's where we came up with the number, is that it's equal to any same day, or it's equal to any singular inspection and permit fee. That's where the $75 comes. And I will say it's roughly $50 cheaper than Amarillo's same day inspection fee.
So anytime you came in for a same day inspection, it's gonna cost you $75.
That's right.
More.
Correct. Yep, that's on top of. And it's the same price as our re-inspect fee. So that's where we kind of got that. You know, if you fail an inspection and have to get a re-inspect, it's also $75. So that's where we came up with that number in the end for the priority fee. And Craig, I don't know if there's anything you want to speak to on contractors kind of wanting that, having that option. I think we're getting busier and busier. Before we had the hailstorm, we were already getting busier, but now after the hailstorm, we're looking at roofs constantly for the next however many months it takes to get them all done. So, you know, I think that's the idea, is to be able to offer that, like you said, Gary, as a customer service option to offer that priority for that fee.
Yep. And it's helped because there are some guys that don't get finished when they want to. And so we want to get out there and make sure that they get that inspection done so they can go to the next next job that they have. So it's, I think it's a great asset for them to be able to use anytime they need to. We don't get it a lot, but it's there for them.
If we're trying to provide that as a service, is that number from your standpoint,
That's
that's
fine. I mean, it's fine.
a good number?
I mean,
After it was re-explained, I get it now.
You too, to try to one-offs provide better service to builders, but you can't do that every time to the same builder. So,
It's just a feature that they can use if they need to.
right.
It's a typical amount of time if they come in and ask for an inspection until they actually get what's average, until we actually are able to go out and do it.
Next day.
Oh, next day. Okay.
Yep. A lot of times we try, we can't always do that, but they're always the next morning.
But the $75 would guarantee we'd be out there.
Yep.
I still like my idea, incentivize the inspector to get it done one day and pay him a bonus.
You're here.
$5 a quick, so yeah.
He's like, I'll work extra hours for that.
Need to do that.
Was there something else on there when you had, I think it was a little bit above that, but about a non-required inspection fee or whatever?
So we added a fee that if there's a required inspection that you have moved past that point without getting the inspection, then we can assess you a fine, basically. So right now, the only fine we have is for work without a permit. But the other thing we've run into is contractors who might have a permit for a whole house. They should have gotten a preliminary framing inspection, but they already moved to their MEPs. This is a process for us to find them and say, hey, you know, you jumped an inspection, you skipped one, and stop skipping inspections. So now we're associating a fee with that so that we can hopefully encourage our contractors to remember the process.
And that department has the latitude to enforce that if they choose to do so, Mr. Potter.
A lot of times sequencing, our inspections are very important because if they skip something, they're gonna cover up the one that they missed.
Any other questions for Bob?
And supplement back on the water, this was 3 years ago, we were paying $508 per thousand.
And now it's 6.
$644, so that's a 26% increase in 3 years.
I don't think we have to figure it out tonight, but I think that's something we need to think through. So,
We can look how that plays into the study's equation. I think the three of us can take a look at that dive with what that was when we started the utility study with NuGen and what kind of impact that's making now.
I would entertain a motion if there's no other questions for Bob.
Second.
Have a motion and second to adopt the fee schedule as presented. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes 3-2.
Thank you.
All right, item number 9, consider and take appropriate action on ordinance number 1232 to include unincorporated property in the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the city of Canyon, followed by annexation of such property upon petition of the landowners Prairie Grass Properties LLC and Montgomery Agricultural Operations LLC, Texas Limited Liability Companies. Lucas and Chuck.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And so this is our official consideration. We held a public hearing for this item. I believe that was last month for the annexation. It's really the re-entering of the property into our ETJ and then the annexation of the property for the proposed Phantom Creek subdivision. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, and our developers are here in the meeting as well.
Jeff, I think, or Dave, both of you all, I don't know what all items, I guess 9 and 15, but would
If you
you all
guys
like
have any
to?
questions, this is kind of just a formality, I think, at this point, but if you guys have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Just come up, and formal annexation at this point.
Move to approve.
A second.
Have a motion and second to approve. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you all too. So we're excited about something.
Thank you, guys.
Item number 10, hold a public hearing and consider and take appropriate action on ordinance number 1236, Phantom Creek subdivision zoning, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Canyon, Texas, establishing zoning for the proposed Phantom Creek subdivision described in Exhibit A, providing that the zoning classification be posted upon the zoning district maps of the City of Canyon, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with herewith are expressly repealed, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. So now that we have officially accepted this property into the corporate limits of the City of Canyon, we need to assign a zoning district to that. What we have proposed is to just adopt our SF 43 zoning district for the property that will basically act as a placeholder until the developers come forward with an official plat and zoning plan for those plats based on their units in the future. So this is our least intensive zone, and that's our recommendation, is to go ahead and adopt that. Entitles that property for that zone, and then, as I mentioned, they'll come back in the future with a more concrete development plan with a plat and zoning change request at that time. We had one response to our letters that was in support of this change, and the P&Z voted unanimously to recommend the change as well.
So move.
We have a
Oh, I've
public
got to
hearing,
have
so then we'll take that motion. So with that, we'll open the public hearing.
Nobody has signed in there.
Then we will close the public hearing and have a motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
I move we adopt ordinance number 1236.
Motion and second. All in favor of that motion signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, item number 11 is to hold a public hearing and consider and take appropriate action on ordinance number 1234, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Canyon, Texas, rezoning 1909 and 1911 First Avenue, otherwise described as original town of Canyon, Lot 11 and Lot 12, Block 1, 0.32 acres, providing that the zoning classification be posted upon the zoning district maps of the City of Canyon, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are expressly repealed, and providing for an effective date.
All right, thank you. And so this is another rezoning request. Kyle and Colt Paris, they applied to rezone two properties that they currently own that are zoned SF5. These two lots are adjacent to each other and they're over on First Ave. They back up to, if you look at Gretchen, I believe it's PDF page, should be in here somewhere. Nope, I don't have the map in here. They both back up to multifamily district right now. We did take this to our P&Z, who unanimously recommended the approval. And we did get some responses, 3 responses in support of the change as well. And so this change would allow them to add some accessory dwelling units to those properties. That's their intention right now.
It looks like to me that they put different types of products out there, and do we know, are they gonna put brick siding on this, or, you know, they, like I say, they've...
The state preempted our ability to regulate building materials as a city. So the only place we can do that is within the Main Street District, so it's not something that we reach out and ask about at this point. I will say that our zoning regulations do require that any accessory dwelling units do have like character and materials to the primary structure on those lots. And so whatever the primary structure of those two lots have currently, whether it's brick or any other kind of site, those are older homes. Typically they have more of a siding material on there. And so I will say there are 2 other accessory dwelling units that they're constructing right now on 26th Street. One of them is stucco, and so the accessory dwelling unit's gonna have stucco. The other one is brick and aluminum siding. And so we're having brick on the street facade, and then we've allowed aluminum on the other 3 sides. So they have been very amenable to work with us on trying to match the character, the roof type and structure for those accessory dwelling units, so that they're not just, you know, kind of standing out separate from those primary structures.
you know, have seen some of the products and they've done both.
Sure,
Some with
that's exactly
brick
right.
And some that is probably not a good fit and match for the owners next door.
Right. Yep. And I'll just note, you know, this is kind of the area we've talked about a lot with rezonings. You know, we originally thought we might rezone the whole neighborhood over here with that MF2 zone. We heard some pushback from certain residents closer to Third Ave here. Haven't heard that up north, but at this point, we're kind of just letting property owners come with these requests on their own. In this case, we didn't have any pushback from the neighbors within the 200 feet, so we got the full support.
There are no other questions for Lucas. We'll open the public hearing.
Nobody has signed in, Mayor.
We'll close the public hearing.
Move we approve.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve ordinance number 1234. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Okay. Item number 12, hold a public hearing and consider and take appropriate action on ordinance number 1233, an ordinance of the City Commission of City of Canyon, Texas, rezoning 1212 Highway 60, otherwise described as Coleman Subdivision Number 1, Lot 2, Block 1, 0.65 acres, providing that the zoning classification be posted upon the zoning district maps of the City of Canyon, Texas, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are expressly repealed, and providing for an effective date. Luke.
All right, so our third rezoning request of the evening only one more to go. Brittany Russell requested to rezone the property at 1212 US Highway 60 from RC2, its existing zone, to industrial. This change is made as a specific request to accommodate the current business that the tenant is operating on the site. We did issue a zoning violation letter to the tenant. They kind of just set up shop without coming in and discussing this proposed business with us. And so once that business came up, they do sell and display portable buildings. We issued a zoning violation letter and said, hey, you've got 90 days to either rezone this property so that you're in conformance or cease operations at this site. We took this to our Planning and Zoning Commission. We discussed this in reference to our comprehensive plan, our downtown master plan, and city staff really has a big hesitation with a rezone from our commercial district to industrial district because of the site specifically. West of 11th Street on Highway 60, we do have our large industrial area kind of zoned for that. That's what we, kind of foresaw as the place where we wanted to see that. Between 11th and 15th, the frontage really transitions to our commercial district. Behind that, south between the frontage and the tracks, we still do have that industrial zoning. But the frontage between 11th and 15th is zoned for commercial use. And we feel like that's more appropriate. That's kind of where most people are coming into town. They'll either hit 11th or take that on-ramp right across those lots to 15th and come downtown. We want to maintain that character through that commercial use. We kind of took some direction from P&Z after they discussed this item to see if there were any other options, because they didn't necessarily have a problem with this specific use, but they were concerned about the change to that industrial district because of all the other uses that would be allowed under that designation. So just to give you all, the background and the history, P&Z did recommend denial of the rezone request, and that was unanimous. And so because of that, it would take a supermajority vote to overturn that denial and rezone the property. But in the meantime, our staff did come back and we looked at options to allow that specific use and how that would still, potentially function without changing the character and entitling that as industrial space. And so we took back a recommendation to P&Z last week to actually add an additional use to our use chart for accessory building sales and display, and then assign a specific use permit option in our RC2 district. They did recommend approval of that change to this body, and we'll bring that back to you next month once we've had time to post it. So what that would do would allow this tenant to apply for a specific use permit. That would go back to P&Z and then come forward to this body that would allow that specific business to operate at the site without us changing the zoning designation. It would stay zoned RC2. And so the only additional use from our current regulations would be that accessory building sales and display, with the caveat they have to have that specific use permit, which allows P&Z in this body to add specific stipulations, timelines, number of buildings, things like that. So we felt like that was a good kind of caveat or way to still honor our zoning regulations, honor our master plan, our downtown plan, but still try and get creative and work with this business owner who's invested a lot in the property and doesn't want to have to cease operations at the location. So a lot of that is background information just to kind of inform your decision tonight. The only request and decision for you all to make is whether or not to rezone that property. And then, as I said, we'll bring forward the potential changes to the zoning regulations at our next meeting.
But you all and Planning and Zoning are recommending to deny this motion to.
That's correct, yes.
This motion.
The recommendation from P&Z was unanimously voted to deny the zoning change request at this time, so that it would remain RC2. And staff supports that recommendation.
And you're back at our next meeting with a solution to this.
That's the idea, with an opportunity for a solution, right? Because the specific use permit's not guaranteed either.
Gotcha.
But it provides an avenue that doesn't currently exist.
I'll make a motion we deny ordinance 1233.
Second.
A motion second to deny ordinance number 1233.
That is correct. We do have a public
Public
hearing
hearing.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
on that as well.
Okay, we'll have a public hearing first. Open the public hearing. Gretchen,
Nobody has signed in, Mayor.
close the public hearing. Joel, you had to step out. Anything else you wanted to add from P and Z standpoint, or thanks for being here?
This is on the industrial
buildings. Yes, the rezone request and then, potential avenue to.
We were pretty pleased with the way the city came back and felt like they were being accommodating towards the special use. I think it's a good solution for what we have. As we get into a special use, there may be some stipulations that could be applied and maybe allow for a little more control and maybe another look in a year and make sure that everything is as we were hoping it would be.
All right. Thank you.
I still move to deny.
Do you have a
1235.
motion? Second. All in favor of the motion to deny, raise your right hand, please. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Okay, I think that takes us to item number 14. Consider and take appropriate action on development agreement between City of Canyon and Briarstone Enterprises LLC.
Excuse me, Mayor, sorry, we do have 13 first.
Skip one.
Yeah, 13.
Thank you. Hold a public hearing and consider and take appropriate action on ordinance number 1235, an ordinance of the City of Canyon, City Commission of the City of Canyon, Texas, establishing zoning for 1301 8th Street, described in Exhibit A, providing that the zoning classification be posted upon the zoning district maps of the City of Canyon, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are expressly repealed, and providing for an effective date. Lucas.
All right, two more, and I promise I'll sit down. So this is our last rezoning request. It's really a zoning establishment recommendation on behalf of the City of Canyon staff in partnership with CISD. So because of posting requirements, we're one meeting behind. We really like to adopt these zoning regulations as we annex, but we annexed on July 1st, brought it to our P&Z, and now we're recommending that we do zone this property in a similar fashion to our discussion on Phantom Creek, assign it this base zoning district. For the school portion, it'll always be that base zoning district. We won't have to worry about that. But for the portion that is being offered for sale, that kind of locks it in at this really low intensity use. And then anybody who purchases that lot wants to come forward with a development plan, they'll be able to come forward and request a rezone that matches what they want to see. And that gives us as staff the opportunity to really go back to our comprehensive plan, make sure that it lines up with what we're hearing from our citizens that they'd like to see in that area as well. So again, kind of just a holding place zoning designation for the meantime, so that we don't have unzoned area. And then in the future, if that property is sold, we'll probably see a rezone request on that. And we do have a public hearing on this as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
With that, if there's no other questions, we will open the public hearing. Thank you, Gretchen. And close the public hearing. Would entertain a motion.
I move we approve 1235.
Second.
Have a motion and second to approve ordinance number 1235. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Those like sign. Motion passes. Okay, then that takes us to item number 14. Consider to take appropriate action on development agreement between City of Canyon and Briarstone Enterprises LLC regarding public improvements in the W.R. Crowe addition. Look.
I apologize, I still have two more. So item 14 here, we've got a development agreement. This is between the City of Canyon, as you mentioned, and Briarstone Enterprises. Kelby Hartman is here on behalf of Briarstone for any questions you may have. We're excited about this. This is an infill development project over in the W.R. Crowe addition. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this area, this property just north of St. Anne's, the Catholic Church over there. The developer will be rebuilding some of our city streets, Maple and Fifth Ave, in order to improve those streets before houses are built on them. It includes some sidewalk construction for houses that are already there. And then once building permits are pulled, those houses will also install those sidewalks as required. So we're really excited about this. Really, the only need for the development agreement comes from the fact that this is public infrastructure. And so this kind of just formalizes the terms of a private developer constructing that public infrastructure going in. And then we've agreed to surety and terms like that, as we typically do, to make sure that the project gets completed. If there's any questions, feel free to ask myself or the developer, as I mentioned.
Joey, do you have anything you wanted to add? Or?
Just hoping to keep up with demand and just, I guess, improve the community a little bit.
Thank you.
I move we approve.
Second.
Have a motion and second. That's approved. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Okay, item number 15, consider and take appropriate action on resolution number 28-2025, a resolution of the City Commission of Kenyon, Texas, calling for a public hearing to be held on August 19th, 2025 for the purpose of hearing testimony regarding the setting of capital recovery fees for water, wastewater, and roadway systems in the City of Kenyon, Texas. Look at.
I know we have some people signed in, but just to give some background information on this item before we jump into any public comment. All this is something we did back in April. This just calls for us to have a public hearing next month to discuss this program. And so because the last time we called for a public hearing, no action was taken, we're just going back through that statutory process. No action, no comments or discussion requested tonight. Just that we publish this in the newspaper to say that this body will have the conversation and invite people to come share thoughts and public comment before that decision is made by this body next month. Happy to answer any questions.
With that, I think Davey, you and Jeff.
Jeff and I signed in as public comment. Man, if it was gonna be discussed at all, we'd like to have a chance to discuss it. I don't think that's necessary at this time. We'll just discuss it at that meeting. And then I think at this point, you guys, all of you commissioners and mayor, manager, you guys know where we stand on the issue, so no need to discuss anything today.
Like I said, we'll make sure we've got the public comment period next
We didn't
month.
know if we needed to sign in, if y'all had any questions or whatever, we wanted to make yourself available, and I was on that CIAC committee, so we'll be here in August.
Thank you for being here.
Do it again.
Or we can kill it today.
That's what I think. We don't even need to worry about having another meeting. This is the last thing we need. I do like Hector. I have to get up like he does speaking, but I'm not gonna get up tonight, Hector's. But we don't need this. We already talked about it. We know it's gonna hurt the small businesses and talked about that. And it's gonna be hard on small builders, small developers. I mean, the way we do it now with Joe negotiating with developers, they're happy with everything. We're a small community. That's all we need. We don't need a set of all this impact fees. This is just not what we need. So,
Let's take it to a vote, Paul.
all right, I make the motion that we,
No, I meant
do
to.
not adapt the resolution 282025.
I mean, I don't have an issue with public hearing, but as I've thought about it and I've looked at it and I've gotten information from multiple people about this, I feel like it may take away from our ability to negotiate, have negotiation power, and I never want to take that piece out of anything we do. Negotiation is a huge piece of what we should be able to do with anyone we're trying to work with, and I don't understand a whole lot about it, but I feel like that's one piece of it that concerns me is, will it take away that ability to actually negotiate with the people we're trying to work with?
This body has the authority to assess or not assess those fees at any time. So even if we did adopt fees, again, our recommendation is to adopt the program and set the fees at zero, which takes nothing away from that still puts all the negotiation responsibility on us as city staff.
Yeah, that
Because
gives the
those
city
fees are
a hammer.
$0.
Gives the city a hammer not to have real negotiations, negotiating with the developer, and then it just says, well, you won't talk to us, but we want to negotiate, we'll just throw this hammer as impact fee, it's already set, all we gotta do is bring it to you. That's not a fair negotiation.
When it's set at $0,
Yes. You have it as a hammer to use.
there's no hammer if it's $0.
Yeah, but because I know you're smart, Tim, again, I wish he's on our side, but you're not. If you
I'm
have
on the
that
side
set,
of
if
City
you
of
have it
Canyon.
set as 0, and it's set there as a tool, it's a tool that you have, that Joe will have. If he's negotiating with a developer and negotiations don't kind of go exactly the way he wants, he can say, well, just forget it, I'll go to the commission and tell them we can't negotiate, we're gonna use this as a hammer and set some fees for you.
Then it would come back to you to decide whether or not it's appropriate to set those fees.
That's exactly right, and I think that's wrong.
Okay.
I know we disagree on that, and that's
I do.
fine.
Oh, I think we're looking for a vote one way or the other. I don't think if it's a no from the commission, then that should be a formal vote. I would like to get back to the hearing to get it back in front of a formal action for either a yes, a no, or something. We're setting them at 0. And so if it is no, I mean, we're gonna accept that policy. But we want it to be tendered to a vote, one way or the other.
Who do you want? I mean, nobody second the motion, then you get what you want. I already made the motion.
So, yeah, we're really just taking it to a public hearing then, so which opportunity?
Right. And we're good either way. We just want to get a vote. We don't want it to end on being tabled. And if it's a no, it's a no. And we're perfectly acceptable. That is a policy decision, as we all discussed. But I think it should deserve a full formal vote, one way or the other. If it's voted down, then that's it. It's voted down. It's a policy decision that's been made by this board.
Do have a motion on table. Is there a second to Paul's motion?
Well, I have a question. So if he gets a second on his motion and we deny it, and it fails, does that automatically push it to the public hearing?
No, this is
No,
for
there's-
saying
the
that we're.
resolution would still have to pass.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've had plenty of discussion on it, but I'd like to see the vote in the opposite way. So we've talked about it plenty. I don't know that there's no new information, right?
Just on some of the state law changes that
The state law passed that said if you adopt a fee, you can't change that fee for 3 years. So if we did, if for some reason the program was adopted and fees were set at 0, they'd be locked in at 0 for a period of 3 years.
So that's the new information we're gonna learn at the next hearing.
I would present
pretty
on
much
that.
it, I think, Lucas. I don't think anything.
So really, we could just vote on it tonight.
We can't vote on it tonight
can't-
because
well,
we
you
haven't
could
posted
deny
for the public hearing to consider. The state law says we have to pass this resolution, post the public hearing in the paper, and then vote on it at that time.
The public hearing would just allow more people to come and speak, whether they were for or against it.
That's
Is that
correct.
But they've had plenty of opportunity to do that.
They've had one opportunity previously, yes.
For sure.
And so far have we, because refresh my memory, we've only had people against, correct?
Yes. Mr. Hamilton here has been our only public commenter, yes.
Agreed.
So 1.
Against the motion, pro-business,
Against.
pro-development, pro-home development, pro-small business development in Canyon, so.
And I'll just remind this body that the body that you appointed to perform this study did recommend adopting the program and setting the fees at 0.
Sort of.
So what
That was the
would be the
meeting minutes for
benefit? What would be the benefit of setting the fee at 0 if it can't be changed for 3 years? It can't even be considered.
The city of Canyon spent $200,000 with Freeze and Nichols to go through this process. And if we don't set a program and adopt $0 fees, then the state law also changes all the rules on how you come up to this point. So the SEAC can no longer be our P&Z. We have to have different representation on the SEAC. We have to have different
have an audit.
posting requirements. There has to be new audits. So if at some point in the future, 2-3 years down the line from here, we did want to look back at impact fees as a policy tool, we'd have to start over with that whole process and do it all over again.
And Lubbock's still at 0, if I'm not.
Lubbock is at 0 for water and wastewater. They do have a roadway fee. They're actually considering increasing their roadway fees right now.
But that's been there for 3 to 5 years.
2020?
That's
what I
That's
thought.
when they adopted their roadway fee and then set their water and wastewater at zero.
Here's the part, if you haven't seen the meeting that we had, sorry, I'll stand up so you don't see me. If you haven't seen the meeting that we had that actually adopted the zero fee deal, the only thing I'd like to say is that was, the CI committee was headed by Joel in that committee, but he was not even in that meeting, so it is what it is. The guy that was there to head that meeting was the first time he heard any of this information. So when it got passed at that point, it did get passed. I voted against it. Joel did not get a chance to even vote on it because he was not there. That's the way these meetings work. That's how the vote fell. I don't know how. Roger?
It was 4-2.
Yes, but Roger just showed up and led the meeting. I don't know how he got to lead that meeting.
He's
I
the
don't
co-chair of
understand that.
P&Z.
Co-chair, okay. So
Vice chair.
the problem I have is that he hasn't heard any of the information until that meeting. So when you're brand new to that meeting with that much information, it's real easy to go, okay, this makes sense, we're gonna pass this with a $0 amount, send it to the city commission, let them figure this out. That's how I felt like that got passed. That's how it had to go just by, because he was not there, so it's his fault.
Well, it'll be reflected in the attendance records.
We as a staff are indifferent on this topic. The only thing is I would like for the commission to have the final say in the vote and not just having a tabled option. If the commission finds it necessary to vote it down, that is their will and that is their policy set. We are indifferent on which direction we go as a staff.
My fear is that you won't get another motion and we're gonna be right back in the same spot we were 2 weeks or 2 months ago. And you're gonna be tabled again. And I agree, I think it needs to be voted on, up or down, so I second your motion.
To deny the hearing.
Yes. Just so we can get some type of resolution. It's gonna be tabled again.
We have a motion second to deny the public hearing and that vote, but I take it that that's also a vote against, so that,
Can I ask one more question?
yes.
By setting it at zero, it's locked in for 3 years by law, so we can't even negotiate out of a zero. It's locked in.
We can negotiate any price we'd like to with any developer through a development agreement at any time. It does not affect our negotiating power
The
at
only
any
reason to
point.
put this in place is because we spent the money to go through the
It's protecting the investment of the process. That's exactly right. This body directed staff to perform the process. Taxpayer funds were spent. That's where we feel like adopting zero
Except for
fees.
me. I offered to do the study for free and y'all wouldn't let me.
This body, as a whole.
Don't put me in that, because I voted against it.
This is a democracy.
It was a waste of money, and I told them I'd do it for free, but the mayor wouldn't let me. Once they get it in place, it's in place, and they got it. This new legislation that passed gonna make it a whole lot harder for them to do it next time around. That's why you pushed it right now. Because these new laws that got passed and signed by the governor, they're not, the legislature's not in favor of these impact fees at all. So we need to shut it down now, because we're just a small town. We're not a Lubbock. We're not a big city. We're just a small town. We can negotiate these developers, and Davey and Jeff will be happy with Joe, and Joe will be happy with them. You go the other way, and it's gonna be nothing but, it's just gonna be, it'll be awful.
Just a second. So after 5 years, the say has to be reworked anyway. Is that what I understand?
If the program was adopted, you'd have to go back and look at your numbers, update all your data. That's correct. But not necessarily with a new board and all those
Would
things.
set it at zero, it's set at zero for 3 years then, no matter what.
That's correct.
Right, you couldn't bring it to the commission to change it, even if you wanted to.
That's correct.
So if
But
it
it
was,
couldn't be changed until 3 years.
that's right. So if something came along in year 1.5, you have no authority or power to change it whatsoever.
You couldn't assess an impact fee through that program. You would have to negotiate to
Even if
have
you wanted, even if you wanted to, you
a
could.
developer agreed fee if you wanted to have any fees. That's correct.
All right, have a motion and a second. If there's not any further discussion, all in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, takes us to item number 16. Consider and take appropriate action on resolution number 27-2025, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Canyon, Texas, exercising the third of 3 one-year extension terms of the current depository services contract agreement between the City of Canyon, Texas and Happy State Bank, a division of Centennial Bank, and authorizing the Director of Finance to execute acceptance of the extension offered by Happy State Bank related thereto on behalf of the City of Canyon, Texas for the one-year extension of the current depository services agreement. Joe?
Thank you, Mayor. If you recall, right now we're in the middle of our depository contract agreement with Happy State Bank. The original term of that was 2 years from September 1 to August 31 of 23. We've extended that twice. The state statutes allow us to have a 2-year contract with as many as 3 one-year extensions. So this is to ask for approval of a resolution to extend it for the third one-year term. Just to kind of give you notice of how this process will go again. In October, I'll be coming back to you to ask for approval of the Valley View, who we've used as a consultant to help us with the RFA process. The new process to select a new depository contract that will begin in January of 26. And that will start the 5-year process over again with whichever bank ends up winning that bid. So this is just to finish out the 5th year of that 5-year contract with the extensions. They did give us same interest rate that we have had, 25 basis points over the weekly 13-week T-bill. It's based on the weekly T-bill auction. That has been a very competitive rate, even with other state investment pools. They've been just ahead of that at times I've checked it throughout the year. They also favored the terms on us for the CD. Last year, they limited us to a 180-day term, and in this extension, they've allowed that to be the 365-day term, so a full year CD that we can lock in rates. Again, it's competitive rates have been holding pretty steady at around 4.25% to 4.5% for the last several months, six months at least. The city has been very pleased with the service we've received from the bank. They've been very responsive anytime we've needed anything. And it's our recommendation that we stay with them for this last extension period.
Move to adopt resolution number 27-2025.
Second. Have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 27-2025. Is there any discussion or question? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 17, consider and take appropriate action on resolution number 26-2025, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Canyon, Texas, establishing a special revenue fund known as the Consolidated Municipal Court Building Security and Technology Fund and other matters properly relating thereto. Joe?
Thank you. This is a formality. A resolution is needed for us to establish a new special revenue fund. We have had a municipal court technology fund and a municipal court security fund for several years. This past legislature, they passed House Bill 1950, which didn't do away with those funds, but it stopped the use of those two funds. And then they created a new consolidated municipal court building security and technology fee. And so those will be assessed on cases going forward by municipal court. Those fees will be combined And that fund in a whole can be used for the purposes that those two fees could be used for originally. I think this is an attempt for smaller communities that maybe have a little bit in each of those funds, but they can't really get a use where they can get it used, so they're letting them combine it all together and use it. We've spent all ours, so that's not a problem for us, but we need to create this fund in order to comply with our accounting policies. So it'd be our recommendation that the resolution be passed to create this fund.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. All right, with that, item number 18, we will retire into exec session pursuant to 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.072, deliberation about real property, 551.074 for personnel matters, Canyon Economic Development Corporation Board, and 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations. And with that, I have 547. We'll adjourn into exec.
John got to this.
We just want to make sure that you're seeing that.
It's the first one for July 2nd, so I'm glad she emailed that.
My email, I have 2